The other day I found this coloring page that I realized that I had started, but I never finished, and I was like, oh my god, this is so cute. So I'm going to go ahead and finish it today, and I'm going to share some of my techniques with you. The first thing I'm going to do before I even start coloring is create my color palette. I grabbed all my markers and I put them in a chromatic order. Using this, I am going to choose the colors that are going to look good on this coloring page. So let's go ahead and start getting our colors together. I already know that all of these colors look really cute. All of these colors look really cute. I'm going to create this little guide with my swatches and their names. Now that we have our color palette done, we're going to get ready to color. So this flower was actually like these flowers earlier. I'm going to go ahead and change those as well. I'm going to do the same base for all of the flowers. I highly recommend that you grab some acrylic markers. My ultimate favorite acrylic markers are definitely the grabby ones. The other kits that I ordered dried out in 2 seconds, and it was really annoying. I know it doesn't look like much now, but it will later. And really define some of these shadows a bit more. I'm going to remove the lines from the old drawing. The light source is there. Now we're going to go ahead and put some darker spots everywhere the light doesn't hit. So we know that the light is hitting here, but underneath here there shouldn't be too much light. So let's do a couple little dots. Now the light is here and there's a leaf here, so we've got to add just a little bit of shadow there, some shadows anywhere behind the leaves. These definitely got hit here, and there's not too much light down here, so add some darker spots there. So keeping in mind that the light is here, anywhere on the bottom. This shouldn't really have a shadow. We have a shadow here, everywhere to the left of the rose. All of this section is getting hit by the sun. This one not so much. These little guys are. Here not so much. And the darker we want it, because it's further away from the sun, the more dense we're going to put it. And if we've got like just a little bit of shadows, then we can put just a couple little dots where we're getting a little bit less sun, but we're not completely in the dark yet. This guy's completely outshadowed. He's getting a little bit of sun. He's not either. And this guy here is definitely not getting any sun. He's complete shadow. So that was our first round. Now we're just going to go ahead and darken a little bit more in the places where we want more shadows. So just adding a couple little dots behind the leaves, and really on the bottom where the shadow would be the densest. Here we've got a bush here, and so we're creating a little bit of shadow underneath. Just on the bottom where it would really be darker, let's add a couple of dots, not too much. I didn't do them both one after the other because if the ink was wet, it would have just blended right in. So you have to wait till the ink is dry to go ahead and do this second round of shadows. Get used to mastering the art of the shadows and the highlights, you're going to see that your pages are going to take on a whole new dimension, because that really makes a huge difference, creating that sort of 3D effect. Deepen these shadows because, as you can see, the ink just ended up blending in. I must have worked it too fast when it was still too wet, and that's why my shadows just completely disappeared. As a base color for this part, the wood, I'm going to go really pale, because after that we're going to add some lines and all sorts of stuff to really make sure that people know that this is wood. Let's start off by coloring this guy. That way, afterwards, we're going to be able to do our wooden details. In this case, it wouldn't even matter if you created marker marks in this, because it would actually work to your advantage to give that sort of wood grain feeling. So you don't have to worry about marker chasing or your markers making the lines. It wouldn't matter. So everywhere that I'm going to put some wood, I'm going to use this color as a base. So while this gray is wet, before we go ahead and add greens and so forth and little pebbles or whatever would be in a stone building, I'm going to go ahead and create my shadow. We're going to go with our RG050, and now everywhere where there's a shadow, so since the sun's coming from here, anywhere underneath this is obviously going to have a shadow. So we're adding a shadow here. The sun's there, so there's going to be a shadow underneath here. There's going to be a little shadow here. There's going to be a shadow here, shadow there. This is further away, so it's going to be a little darker. There's going to be one behind this door frame. Anywhere underneath this. Behind this plant. Usually the bottom does tend to get a little bit darker because it's away from the sun. We can go back with our lightest color and just blend this in a little bit. Going from the bottom towards the top, but I'm not going to go completely towards the top because the top would have a lot more sun. So as you can see, I'm sort of taking my marker and I'm just dragging it to remove these little marks to create a more harmonious blend so that it looks a little bit more natural. Doing the same thing on the bottom, because this is obviously going to be darker than this pot that's directly hit by sunlight. This is the bottom of the building, so it makes sense that it would be a little bit darker. And now I'm going to go back with my middle color and redo these shadows while this is still wet, just to get that blend to look a little bit nicer. The shadow is going to be always darker at the closest point to the object, so that's why I'm going back and trying to create this sort of darker line really close to the edge. And I'm hardly pressing with my pen, because if I press too hard it's going to make that thick line and it's going to go in my brown, which I'm trying to avoid. Sometimes it's a little inevitable though. This is nice as possible, but my hand is a little bit shaky sometimes. I'm going to use this light gray for the door handle as well, since it's metal. So I'll start off with this color, the E288, and I'm just going to add a couple of dots, like literally like if there were little pebbles in the stone. Sometimes I press hard, sometimes I press light. You don't want them to be like all stuck together like in the same pattern, because it wouldn't make sense. Like if there were some stones that were mixed in with a concrete, like it would just be like such a random thing, right? So I'm just alternating the pressure, adding a couple of stones to my building. I could also make like some cracks, you know, sometimes in concrete there's cracks. And then with my lightest color, my base color, now that this one has dried, I'm gonna go ahead and just add a few of these little sort of lines to make it look like there's these stones in here as well. That's how I like to do my stone buildings, but there's different methods. This is just the one that I like to do. I feel that it gives it that really natural vibe, like those European buildings. Got our little stone effect. We could even add like some gray pebbles if we really wanted to. Maybe that would be overkill, but let's just add a couple of gray pebbles just for the fun of it. Just add as much texture as possible in this little old building. We can go ahead and add our shadows now based on our light source. We're going to use our fine tip, and we're just going to add some fine lines. So really hardly pressing. If you have a fine liner, even better. Sometimes there's knots in the wood too. We could add some knots. 3, 4 knots. I'm hardly even pressing. Now I'm going back with my acrylic marker to really deepen this knot and make a finer line. Too dark. Highlights to this. There would definitely be a big light on the top sides. Should have done this metal pole at the same time. See here, I went into my leaf, and I don't want to leave that there because it will show. So I'm going to go ahead and take my clear, and I'm going to push this color out. So I'm working from the inside, trying to make that ink go out. If I did it here, it might push too far out. So I'm just working not too close to the line. See how it kind of just made it spread out? Creating our shadows now. So on the bottom half of these little suitcases, we're going to go ahead and use the same base color that we had, just to create an immediate shadow on the bottom. but not too deep of a shadow. Using the same color once it's dry is pretty much the easiest way to make a shadow that's going to be matching with the top color. So that's a trick if you did not know. This is further away from the light source, so it's going to be darker than the top part. Or it should just be just a little bit darker. Just adding those shadows is making this make more sense. Pop out of the page. Let's deepen these shadows again. Sometimes you have to go over the same area a couple of times if you want those shadows to really work. And if we feel that it pops too much, don't worry about it, because we're going to be able to go over this with some acrylic marker and tone it down to really make it look like a window. So don't worry if it's a little bit too flashy with our vibe. It's really not a big deal. But I'm not hating this color. I actually find that it looks quite cute. This is definitely weird, right? Because we're thinking, wait a minute, this is like kind of out of our comfort zone. This whole color over the books before coloring them, but we're supposed to be looking at these from a glass. Try to keep it in the harmony, reusing as many colors as we can. These grays. Some rays right on the glass. I'm really going to just lightly color this in where I know that I wouldn't be seeing so much through the window because there's just so much sun shining into this area. See how it's creating just sort of see-through area, a little bit more here. And if I don't want it too thick, I'm just going to rub it with my finger a little bit. See how this is instantly toning down my colors, and it's also showing that now this is a glass. This isn't just some blue color. I'm seeing through a glass, through a window. Let's do it here too. And again, it always has to be paler on top where the sun is getting hit than on the bottom. I want to be deeper with my jelly roller. Just those sun rays that I really wanted to show. Jelly roller, I'm really deepening that line. So let's say that we've got a much lighter window right here where that sun hit, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to add some rays of sun. So I'm pretending that my sun's coming from there. Let's do some of this. That, and let's just create some of these spots on this window too so that it does show that it's a window. And we're going to go back with our jelly roller and deepen some of these rays. I'm going back with my art RG030. Filling that in. And we can do the stones a little later once this is dried, just like we did with this building. All right, so let's do this little part with this gray as well. And, which is probably the most this guy, and then we can add some white to him to make him a little paler because I did want him lighter than this. I don't want him to be completely white. Let this white dry, and then after that I'm going to go over it with my regular marker. Let's add a little bit more here and then just tap it. Blend that in. This is the part of the sidewalk that we don't see because it's more away from the sun. It's kind of like the side. We're going to go ahead and darken that whole area. And we're going to have to go back in and add some stones. The ones that are further away, I'm going to make much smaller so that it gives that impression of a perspective. So I'm not going to make any really big ones back here. And the closer I get to here, the bigger I'm going to make the stones. Keeping in mind that I have my lights that we wouldn't necessarily see on the bottom, and they're away from the sun. I went ahead and and drew a background. I didn't want to leave this as is. I thought it was kind of boring and I really wanted to add something fun. So I drew a background with a pencil, and I'm just going to go ahead and fill it in with a jelly roller in dark gray because I don't want the outlines to be too thick as it's in the background. So usually in the background something would look a little bit more blurry. So I had just quickly done it by pencil, and I'm going over with my jelly roller. I could also go with a Sharpie or something like that, like one of those permanent fine liners. But since I do want this to sort of blend in and not pop too much, that's why I'm doing it with the gray jelly roller. I also went ahead and drew some cobblestones in here. And deepen the shadow that is closest to the fence. Add a few dots in here as well. Identified. I'm going to take my E400 for all the top parts of the fence so that we look like we have a bit of a highlight. Not too much, just a little bit. I'm taking WG09 for the bottom of the stone. And try to create just basic shapes of stones. So using this dark is kind of like creating the stones without me having to actually do it myself. For the bottom of the sidewalk, we're going to keep this one simple, just so at some point we don't have too many textures. And just so that there's a tiny bit of texture, I'm going to go ahead and let this create some marker streaks. So normally I wouldn't let that like that, but I am now, just to create a little bit of, I don't know, natural texture if you want. Like let's say that this was asphalt. Well, there would maybe be a little bit of cracks in it or different parts of light hitting it. So that's why I'm not coloring it in one shot. And we're definitely going to have a shadow here because of our stone wall. We can add that right away. And definitely a shadow here. Right here. Deepen these shadows a little bit. I want to put all of them in the same color. Maybe if we mix our gray with a little bit of brown, it could help. Let's try that. See what happens if we work these while they're wet. Try to blend them in together. I'd like an even darker gray if I could. See what happens when I go over it with my acrylic marker. Not acrylic marker, my marker, because that helps. I'm gonna make the stones in the back darker. I feel like it makes more sense. We're going to go ahead and create our sky now. I've already selected some colors. I'm going to be able to show you the palette once I'm done. I'm going to start with V080. I'm going to have to work pretty rapidly. So I'm going to pre-open a couple colors. I've got R11 that I've opened. Just lightly took the cap off. I have V080 for my darker colors. And R250 for now. Let's do V020 as well, just to be safe. Alright, so starting with our darkest color. Line in our corner. And we're just going to sort of create a cloud shape. Just very random. Now I'm going to go straight to my R11. sort of thing you have to work actually pretty fast, so I'll put a little bit of my R11 here, a little bit of my R11 there. I'm going to do some sort of like an angle. Normally if I was trying to just blend the colors, I would work them one into each other, but since I'm kind of like making a cloud sort of shape, I'm not doing that for now. I'm going to go in with my lightest color. This sort of pink color here. Let's do a little bit of the pink color here. And add some clouds. And I'll finish it off with the 250 everywhere in between. Sort of like cloud shape. And then on the top of these clouds, we're going to go in with Y121. Nope, I got some of my green in there. It's okay, we'll be able to fix that after. And at this point, I'm just going to try to go in and try to make the shapes of the clouds a little bit. I'm gonna have to start getting this to be a little bit paler in these areas because this is where our light source is. Don't. I'm trying to push these colors so that they sort of blend now, so they don't have too much of a contrast. So now we're getting progressively lighter. Is really our brightest color. don't like what just happened there. I'm going to go back in with my M10. Create these cloud shapes. Trying to get these spots to go away here. See how there was this sharp edge here? We want to smooth that out. So I'm taking my acrylic marker. I'm just creating a little bit of fluff on the top of these. On top of these cloud tops. And then I tend to just dabble with my finger. Just dab so that it doesn't look too thick. Just want to tone down this transition. Here I got some very light yellow to make it look like we have some sort of a rays of sunshine that are passing through the clouds. I'm just going to create some fun cloud shapes on the top of this yellow here. Just so that we see this sort of burst of light. I'm going to go and add some white to this yellow to really make it as pale as possible. I don't like working just in white because the sky isn't white. It's all sorts of bursts of color that you see through the sunset. Really working in transparency. So this looks as real as possible. Just get it a little bit darker close to the base. Since at that point we're really far from our light source, it should be a lot darker. finish this up, I'm going to go back to my original color palette and I'm going to use G410 with G9. Just applying my shadow right away. RV 270 and R270 for the bottom. Let's use RV 200 for this one. I'm just adding a couple of little spots with the RV200 since I had never used it in the page, just so that it doesn't look weird to have like a brand new color. We'll use it here too, because if we come in with a brand new random color and use it in only one spot, it never looks great. When you're introducing a color in a page, you have to use it at least in 2 areas. Get him to have a pink book as well. This is G240. Maybe we could do stripes on this guy. Let's try the stripes. Let's color in this basket. Some brown. I didn't want this gray too light, that's why I'm going in with some black. I'm working these acrylic markers like if they were a paintbrush. Let's add some hearts to this basket. Do the contour of this carpet in this sort of dark gray. highlights versus coming from the top. Probably have some shadows created by these books straight underneath. Let's color in these hearts pink. Darken the bottom of these letters in. I feel like there will be a bit of a shadow. We have to do our shadow on the bottom of this book. And the shadow from his hand holding the book. We had forgotten about that. Maybe a little bit on the inside of his ear at the beginning. Kind of feel like we're done, guys. I sure loved coloring with you today. I hope I was able to help you master some techniques and understand a little bit more about light and shadows and about blending colors. If you enjoyed this tutorial, please like this video. It helps my channel grow, and don't forget to subscribe. See you soon.